Hello, welcome on our channel. Last week we've listened to Lateralus from the Lateralus album. What a great chat we had. This week gets even more exciting. We will be finishing the Lateralus album and we have 3 songs to go through. We have Disposition, 4 minutes 48. We have then Reflection, 11 minutes 09, and Triad, 6 minutes 37. So we have the whole song journey alone of over 20 minutes, which is quite a lot to go through. So I wonder what we, and how we will structure our discussion later on. As always, thank you so much for being with us. As you know, right after Laterals, actually not right after, but around 5 years later, we have another album that has been released by Tool, 10,000 Days. What a biggie.
And it actually have been released around 10,000 days after Lateralus, if I'm not mistaken, or no?
I think there will be quite a good story around this, but before we get there, I've actually been thinking of break our routine slightly after Lateralus and perhaps follow your recommendations really and have a listen to and to see actual music videos by Tool, because I haven't seen them yet and quite a lot of you recommended to do so, and I feel kind of ready as well. So I feel it can be quite a nice thing to break, our chronological routine, but that's something I feel we're gonna ask our Patreons to help us choose. If you would like to support us, feel free to do so. The link to our Patreon account will be under the video. And after this a little break, we will start the 10,000 Days album. That's it from me.
And
I'm ready to start. I really want to start and crack on. There's loads of things to go through.
Yeah, and I would just add that for the music videos, I think we only will consider the original made by Tool, because there's lots of fan-made videos on YouTube.
That's up to you guys, really.
Okay.
I haven't seen any of them, so I will follow your advice as well.
You ready for the songs?
Yes, I am. I have all the lyrics prepared. I'm properly ready.
And I think we won't be making any pauses between.
Yeah, but you can let me know though when it starts if I won't be able to figure this out myself.
Yeah, and we will put the info when the songs change in the video. So right now the Disposition is the first one.
Let's do it.
Okay.
That's so different again and so nice right away. kind of like a lullaby.
Or like a long intro.
Mention this to me. Mention something. Mention anything. Mention this to me. Watch the weather. Watch the weather change.
So soft.
Watch the weather change. Watch the weather.
That was really nice.
Yeah, the reflection will start in a sec.
And there's different rhythm right away. That's really good. It's really cool. Is it bad that it makes me want to dance? That was so good. Triad doesn't have lyrics, does it? That's the end as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't have any lyrics. It will start shortly.
Okay. That's a new song now, yeah?
Yep.
Triad. Cool. Really strong.
and that's it.
That was so good. It flown like that again.
It was
Oh.
well over 20 minutes actually.
I didn't even feel it was that long. It was so good. Whoa. And I almost fell asleep at one point only because I felt like I want to keep my eyes closed, and I had this kind of sleepy mood.
It
But
was similar for me with Third Eye a little bit.
Was it?
Yeah, like changing your mood in a
Yes.
very big way.
It does as well. And also Lateralos. The parable and parable, but it's kind of every time it's slightly different. This time I also found it really hard not to kind of, just start dancing, like, not perhaps dance like proper dance, but like really moving my shoulders and moving my head. It was kind of natural, and it made me feel I want to do it. So it was kind of hard to stop myself, because obviously I'm aware that I'm being recorded, so that was a good stopper to some degree, you can say. Oh my God, I absolutely love that. So we had Disposition, the shortest one. Then we had a very long Reflection with such a nice and I feel deep warm words, lyrics. And then we had this Triad with no lyrics at all. Each of them, first thing, I made literally just a few notes. Each of them had slightly different rhythm and the tempo as well. So my kind of first thought that came across with Disposition and kind of linked to it is kind of a lullaby.
Okay.
And kind of like delicate, very sensitive. And then you have Reflection, which is stronger and tells a lot, tells like a proper story, and there have been changes in between within the song itself. And then at the end we had Triad, which was the strongest. So like the tension was building up as we've been going further. So that was my first note. I have to also admit that I had to use the Google Translate between the songs quickly, just to double check what Pine Away probably mean.
I did exactly the same.
This idiom was not known to me, so I had no idea that's what it means. But it's good to know, and it really fits here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we start from the beginning then? Why Triad? Because so many of you said that it has to be listened as a triad, 3 songs in a row, because that's how it meant to be. That's how it's supposed to be. Do you know why?
I mean, the last song is called Triad.
Well, yes, that's pretty obvious, but that's also the name of the song. But it seems that these 3 songs are kind of a triad in itself.
I think especially between first 2, between the Disposition and Reflection, the music joins very well. Like there's like very smooth the drums.
The drums, yeah, that's also something I've noted. And like the lullaby at the end, because you could still hear. You thought it's the end of the song, yet you could still hear this delicate but really nice drums, and then the drums like fluently went into completely different tempo. So it was like such a nice feeling as well. It was like really smooth.
And it's the same with Triad and Reflection. So Triad follows the Reflection, and at least on the waveform in the software I'm using to record this, I can see like a waveform of the sounds. Like I'm pretty sure you know what it is like, and they fit like puzzles. The ending of Reflection is ends exactly the same as Triad starts. It's the same like volume, the same kind of. The waveform looks kind of the same.
So I didn't pick this up.
Me neither. So that's why I'm saying it looks like this in a software. I haven't really picked this up with my ears.
Yeah, me neither. But what I picked up was like definite differences, but also in a smooth sense. It's like natural development of the song, which is really interesting and probably may have some meaning as well, which we'll get to in a moment. So let's start with the Disposition, and let's have a look at the lyrics, because there wasn't many of them. They've been like constantly repeating, but his voice was so good as well. It was again like this kind of lullaby that wants you almost if when you do the hypnosis
Oh, I see. Yeah.
like a hypnosis state. That's how I felt. Like the lyrics sounded here. I mean, his voice and this whole, musical side of things. It's kind of a bit of hypnosis. That's why I felt like I want to keep my eyes closed and just move my shoulders and move my head into the rhythm of the music.
And there's only like couple of different words in the reflection.
Mhm.
In the reflection or disposition. Was it the first one? Was
Disposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Mention this to me and watch the weather change. And then that's it. He was just repeating it. Mention this to me. Watch the weather change. So it's clearly like watch the change. And it's also like, it reminds me about hypnosis so much. I mean, I never personally experienced that, but I've heard of it quite a lot. And from my understanding, there's pretty often, it pretty often involves, not always, but from my understanding, it does involve repeating the same sentences to put you in this kind of hypnosis state. And I feel like it worked. But watch the weather change. There's like a stress upon those words, definitely. Mention something, mention anything, but watch the weather change. So there's like a stress upon the change to be able to see and visualize something that is changing. And then we have reflection, which is clearly a change of the song in itself.
And that's like maybe if we look at it as a second part, maybe the reflection is that weather actually changing, in to use the same words.
Or have a look at the previous songs as well. Excuse me. So I hope it's not coronavirus. It's probably not. So with the look at the previous songs as well. We had this whole stories and they've been growing upon us and we've been discovering like different layers. What if it's because again, for me, it's starting being like some kind of a summary of the whole album. We had this, that what he is, we had the Grudge, we had the Parabola, Schism, experience in infancy. What if it's this initial, even the lullaby style, it's like the
Infancy.
yeah, or maybe like very early stage of consciousness, which we'll discover then in reflection.
Yeah, especially that reflection, I remember mentions like getting rid of the ego, things like that. So that would make me think that the disposition, like you're right, it's like maybe it's an infancy state, something like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this whole song meant to reflect not even this, or can reflect the state of infancy. Can be a summary of previous songs that had that stressed this type of state when you don't understand something, when you can't understand, even when you are at the age of Bund. That's how I think people call it
Rebellion.
when you are quite rebellion. Yeah, the rebellion state when you are quite young and you have so many feelings, but you don't understand them yet because you don't have this experience, this baggage. So you are just too young to fully understand them.
And in Lateralus, do you remember there was this black and white is all I see in my infancy?
Exactly.
And here we have only a couple of words, something.
Yeah, but even like the rhythm of the song, it was. I don't know why I keep saying lullaby, but that's how I felt. It was so delicate and yeah, just a few words. It kind of fits here, like some kind of state of infancy, but also in this another layer in terms of consciousness when you develop as a human being, when you start understanding your emotions. So that's like very initial stage. You don't really yet at this stage. You need to observe. You need to watch the weather change. That's how I felt.
No, that sounds actually pretty accurate for my taste. Like I felt lots of the same things.
Did you feel anything else in terms of the disposition?
So I would say I really liked it musically. That I would stress. Like it just, and I would also add it introduces you to some I don't want to say state, but it definitely changes a mood or gives you like a way to enjoy the rest, kind of like it slows you down a little bit.
So again,
Like
I
lullaby,
felt like I
yeah.
was hypnotized, honestly.
Yes, I think I'm just saying the same in other words, I guess.
Oh, but that's brilliant, isn't it? And I think naturally we can go to reflection now and have some chat about reflection, because like I feel like the reflection is kind of the essence, you know. It is in the middle of Triad. If you're looking at it this way, it is in the middle, so it must be, you know, the heart of this consideration.
And especially like taking into consideration that the Triad is with no lyrics. This song is like the last lyrics on the album, kind of. So that might be a good culmination point of the album, I would say.
Yeah. So we have before we go to Triad, because I had a few kind of thoughts that I will hopefully expand, but I don't know in which direction it will go, because it depends how we're gonna discuss the reflection, because there was so much in the reflection itself, wasn't there? I try have a look at the lyrics. So I have come curiously close to end down beneath myself, indulgent pitfall hole defeated. I concede and move closer. I may find comfort here. I may find peace within the emptiness. How pitiful it is, calling me. So looking back at the, you know, disposition and this infancy, I feel like this is the next level. This is the next level achieved, the next level of state of consciousness and maybe awareness of what is around you.
Yeah, and I'm actually now remembering the things from Lateralus that people mentioned in the comments about in connection to alchemy. You remember there was this kind of states between that person has to go through some stages to change to a better person, kind of like to be more full. And that might be like the reflection is like kind of getting there from one state to another by reflecting upon oneself.
Oh yeah, and the title itself, the reflection, you need to reflect on your own actions perhaps.
But also reflection means like reflection in the mirror, doesn't it?
Yeah, so even the title itself, it's like it seems to be in the middle for a reason. But like you said, when, you know, discovering and going through those experiences, but it's also like going up and down, ups and downs, isn't it? Because he says, I may find comfort here, but then how pitiful.
You know, one interesting things that I found in the lyrics of Reflection is at the beginning, the narration is in the singular form. It's calling me as I pull my head before I pine away. And the end is before we pine away, before we pine away. So there's a change from singular to plural. I think that's interesting.
Okay, let me have a look. In my darkest moments, a million light reflections pass over me. The sources brighten. And also, what I've picked up upon before we pine away, we have what was that? This light is not my own. A million light reflections pass over me. Its source is bright and endless. She resuscitates the hopeless. Without her, we are lifeless satellites drifting. So what if? Because that's like a calling for this, I don't even want to say like higher power, but what if that's the essence, that's the ability to think, that's the conscious, like the scream for the consciousness itself.
Yeah,
what do you
so
reckon? That's how I feel, because it's like reflecting on something that distincts us from anything else, that allows us to kind of understand, to survive, to get through. So that's something, either higher power, and you can feel by she resuscitates the hopeless, he may mean the actual higher power, the transcendent. Or if you're the atheist, or if you just understand it in a different way, it can refer to like your own power in you because of your own consciousness.
Would you say that, is it soul?
Soul, yeah. It can be soul as well. The actual soul.
And so you mean like in the reminder of the song after when he says in plural form, would it be about his ego, which is mentioned as well, which is very interesting, ego and the soul, like.
Let's try to have a think. Ego, it can be, the reference to the young's ego and the stages. I must crucify the ego before it's far too late. I pray the light lifts me out. So, once he's crucified the ego, there's no more I. There's we. So he sees through these lenses properly now. So if we want to go back to the interpret it in a way of perhaps this, the development and disposition as infancy and the reflection, we can start as maybe, being a youngster.
Yeah.
And at half of part of the song when it says I, the ego is really strong there as well. Usually there is like a really strong ego when all these feelings are building up inside you. But then when you finally have certain level of experience, you've grown to be a person that understands what's surrounding you.
And
you
you're
don't
ready
see your own ego then.
You're ready to get rid of the ego, kind of.
Yeah, in that sense, you're ready to get rid of the ego, and you're ready to notice everything that is around you and be more open to change it and accept it more as well. So that's why it says we, and you've grown to understand. Oh, that's so good. But that's just one interpretative line. There can be so much more, because the other thing that I thought of, there is the without her we are lifeless satellites drifting. So what if it's the, again coming back to lateralis and perhaps parabola and parabola and the astronomical or astrological reference, and whether it's consideration about the start of the world, about the nature of the universe, Big Bang, where are we coming from? Without her we are lifeless satellites drifting. So what is it actually? What is she? What is she? Is it the earth? Is it the something that gives us? Is it the star that started the universe? And that if you are looking for this prism of interpretation, what do you think?
What if she is this realization, this reflection, like this consciousness that, or maybe that ability to connect the dots, kind of like to reflect upon things, because like we as humans have this capacity to make mistakes but also learn from the mistakes, or even learn from mistakes of the previous people or other people or people who lived even like hundreds years ago and so on. We can communicate throughout time, which no animal can do. And what if she is like that consciousness of the humanity, like
more,
it's hard to find words.
Not on individual level. You're higher up now, so you're looking through the humanity as the, let me have a look. As the actual, one big organism, something that we also discussed previously, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So it's like the whole sheet. It means actually us and the human history and the survival throughout the history. Oh my God, this is so good. And this is yet another different possible interpretation. So depending on how you're going to start, you can discover so many different things, because once we going off reflection, once we had this building up, whichever interpretation you would choose, then at the end you have again some expansion, some further, another chapter of the story, because again we have even more rhythm, even stronger, much stronger. There's no lyrics at all, so the stronger at the end. Yes, what actually this can be. Before we start, one more thing. The reflection on the technical note, there was some kind of a filter on his voice. That's how I felt, but I really liked that. It didn't sound natural.
Okay, I haven't noticed that, to be honest.
I felt like throughout the whole reflection, the voice had some kind of a filter on it. That's how it sounded, like not a natural voice, but through some kind of a filter. But anyway, that was also something that added up to this kind of hypnotizing experience throughout. But yeah.
Can I just mention one more thing from the reflection?
As well, yeah.
So the verses, like just let the light touch you and let the words spill through and let them pass right through, bringing out our hope and reason. This reminds me about enlightenment. And like if you think about values of enlightenment in that sense, it also like things like respecting the individual, acknowledging that every person is unique, but at the same time every person is worthy, and you like things like that. I feel like those values are also he tries to say about them, especially the word like light, like it. You have to be
Like the light.
enlightened to. When you are enlightened, you are getting rid of this ego.
But you know what? This also kind of fits somewhere in the middle of these interpretations that we've discussed before. In terms of enlightenment itself, what it also can refer to is to this getting rid of all you knew so far in order to focus on what you can discover and examine, on the meaning. What I'm trying to say, I guess, is some kind of reference to the Descartes. All I know is that I don't know, but I can think, therefore I am.
Okay.
So that perhaps, and you know, if you look in again for disposition, at the beginning, through infancy, then as you grow and you get in all those experiences and you think about certain things as true, but they may not necessarily be true. And that's where, and the reflection at the beginning, it shows this this lesson of understanding that you've been lied to, that what you consider to be true actually isn't. How pitiful. I may find comfort here, but I may find peace within the emptiness, but how pitiful it's calling me beneath my self-indulgent pitiful hole. So like this is kind of the process of understanding that the words, what is surrounding us, can lie to us. And then later on we are achieving the state of enlightenment, that we are understanding it, and all we know is that we know that we have the consciousness as well. Doesn't make sense.
No, I think it's very interesting, and it does make sense. And I would just add that at one point he says, and you will, that's very interesting, and I think that might be for me the except the ego part, that might be like the most important part for me.
And before, I think I don't want to be down here soothing my narcissism.
That's interesting too, but I think that is connected to ego. But the part, and you will come to find that we are all one mind, capable of all that's imagined and all conceivable. Just let the light touch you. Like, that's, I have no idea how to explain it, but it just, I'm impressed.
Yeah. And you will come to find that we are all one mind. So that's kind of this historical, you know what, I have to find it. There's Hegel triangles. It's the Hegel's dialectic. That's what I think it is a reference to. Hegel dialectic. Whoops. Let's see. So it was I was never really good at Hegel's, to be honest. It is such a difficult read, but I feel what he was trying to describe, it's literally what can be reflected in the song. I don't know if we'll get into it, but he had this ability to describe the humans as one, in order for one big idea. Within human history, you can see some kind of circles. We have those ideas, great big ideas, but right after we have some great idea, we have the opposite, the antithesis, the anti-idea. And then out of it, we have a mixture and something new comes around, and that's how the progress occurs. So for some reason, I feel that there is some connection to it, but I don't feel qualified enough to expand on that. But I can highly recommend to all of you to have a look at Hegel's Triads and dialectic.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure I follow, to be honest, because I'm not familiar with it. We can research it later.
Yeah, we should, because again, it was too difficult for me to kind of, maybe somehow I grasped at least part of it, but I can't really express it. But I literally feel that's what you are trying to say, actually. It's such a great thought, you know, in this context of the development of humans as a whole, and looking for, we are all one mind at the end of the day, and we are understanding.
Because otherwise we are just satellites drifting. I mean, that's that's just so true. Like, without even, you don't need any evidence to see that this is true. Like that, unless,
how come?
Because if you are only if you only care about yourself, and if you perceive yourself as completely detached from any other being, really, you are just satellite drifting, and with time you will just be dead and just fall down, and that's it. While if you look at yourself as a part of something bigger, you're not just a satellite, you're
Yeah.
more like a cell.
And that's a more meaning in it as well. That's when the life has much more meaning as well. And that's how, by stepping aside and finally getting rid of this ego, we are becoming a better people. We are becoming a better humans, because ultimately we have our goals are more vital, aren't so detached from the reality. You would think, but then reality can be tricky and can essentially can lie to you. How can you assess what is true or what isn't, if what you consider to be a reality or true is not necessarily true, or you can examine and find out that it wasn't. But so that's where I feel there is also this part of enlightenment part hidden. So just let the light touch you. Any more thoughts on that?
I mean, I have nothing to add on that note. No.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Honestly, really, really great. So yeah, I feel we can start with the triad then, because it is kind of the essence, the ending point, the ending part. No lyrics, and like I mentioned, it was again really different. The strongest part from all of them. I don't know if you would say it was demonic or satanic. I wouldn't probably.
I wouldn't, no.
Because I feel I've seen a comment somewhere that that's how you will feel. I didn't feel this way. I definitely felt it was stronger. So perhaps it's just, to kind of stress the importance of it, and maybe stress that the changes occurred and you've grown and you've developed. Maybe. Who knows? Or
so like a summary.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The whole triad, the whole 3 songs, I consider to be a summary of the whole album, and more or less certain parts of that we've discussed for the album. But then triad can be a summary of the triad itself.
Could it be, just a thought now, like they give you, because there's no lyrics, they give you a space for reflection yourself. So because there's lots of lyrics in the previous reflection song, and now it's time for you to reflect while listening to the instrumental triad. I don't know. I'm just making this up.
I like this. That can be quite a good one, because we have in the middle of triad we have reflection, and then the song is called Reflection. But there's so much going within the song that not necessarily you are actually reflecting and you have this time to reflect. But that's what may as well be the aim of triad, to give you this time to reflect upon the whole triad.
Yeah,
the infancy time, the delicate disposition time, when you've been just watching the weather change, then when you've been actually discussing your own reflection, getting rid of your ego, discovering the light, allowing to be enlightened.
Synthesize what was before, what was told you before.
Yeah, I really like this idea. I think it's actually spot on. Even if, that's not the aim of the song, that's how you can treat it, and that's how you can use it yourself. Or maybe even you are using it without realizing that's what is happening to you, because there's no lyrics. So you have more time to kind of focus on all of this journey that was over 20 minutes long.
I would also say just a word that comes to my mind when listening to those 3 songs. For me, it's effort. It was effortless. Like you could just there's the words are so deep, and the music is not light by any means. Like it's not it's not like a pop music that you can just listen to. But at the same time, when we were listening to it, it was just so effortless to take in.
Yeah, and you wanted to go with it. Like
exactly,
move your head, move your shoulders, close your eyes, and just, allow to be hypnotized by this experience. But last, one more thing, with the triad itself, because I feel it may be because obviously the English is not our first language, but I feel like we may have forgotten to kind of analyze the really end part of reflection, the pine away, because there is a stress on pine away. We
Okay.
all pine away in the sense that we pine away. What if it's just some additional extra thought at the end I had that
So pine away is becoming weak because of
Mhm.
sadness
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
because of losing something, someone.
Yeah, we focused on the change from I to we, which I feel we analyzed pretty good. But the song ends, and there is also kind of a difference as the song is ending. We pine away, so like we are feeling so exhausted after all of it. We had this state of infancy, then we've been growing and growing, understanding all of those things. We get rid of our ego, but this just exhausted us. That's something different. That's just something that came to my mind, like, right now at something completely different interpretation. So if we are like so exhausted at the end because of everything, then we may indeed have triad at the end. It's really strong because we are exhausted. We are just, going down with full speed.
So you're saying that, and before we pine away, let's, like, what would you add after those words, before we pine away?
I wouldn't add anything.
Okay.
No, what I'm trying to say is just another interpretative layer, really. Is that before we pine away. So there is before, but it feels like this whole journey is also really exhausting. That's why we have triad at the end. And then maybe this, satanic even theme would be kind of allowable in a sense.
Okay.
Because we just exhaust after all of this. Okay, we get it now, but then that's how we feel. It is exhausting journey. So all it is, we can just go down completely, and that's what maybe triad in this sense.
I would have a go at a little bit different interpretation.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, I don't say this is mine. That's what I would agree. I really prefer what we've discussed before.
But I would say, so you've got, if you have a look at the lyrics, you can see that there are three parts that are similar. So at the beginning, it's calling me, and it's calling me, it's calling me, and so on. Then before I pine away, and then before we pine away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's three parts, and the calling me might be something like that this urge to connect with all the humanity, it's calling me, like that there's a call to get rid of that ego and so on. Then you must get rid of that ego before you pine away, because if you pine away before you realize that there's more than yourself,
yes,
you won't ever get enlightened, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then that part is the biggest, the hardest one, before we pine.
Yeah.
So you transformed yourself, you got enlightened,
Yes.
you get rid of ego, and now we, let's say it's humanity, maybe now there's a call for the humanity to transform.
Yes, and during this transition between I pine away and we pine away, I actually pined away to be able to go through ego, to get rid of ego. I, as an individual, I'm pined away. I'm pined away.
I see.
And then it ends with we pine away. So we are at this higher level. But what if we are still trying to understand more and go
exactly.
outside of it? And that's perhaps what triad comes to hand. And we don't know. And, that's also really interesting. Like, no one knows how, at the end of the day, they're all just theories about the universe, right? So we don't know what's going to happen if we'll try to understand and get rid of us and try to get this another perspective. When we're outside of us, triad has no lyrics, so we don't know. All it is, it's just like really strong.
Yeah, but at the same and at the same time, we as humans have this urge to understand everything. Like, we just want to make sense of everything. Even if something doesn't make sense, humans tend to see the patterns everywhere and just give the meaning whatever they come up with.
Yeah, look at us, not this song.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's true. But at the same time, it is satisfying, at least for us, which is great, I think.
Yeah. But then, isn't it like really, that's really interesting, that the triad, and what baffles me, it has no lyrics, so you can't really tell, and you still don't know at the end, even though you're trying. You don't know because it's so open, because of the fact that it doesn't tell you even, it doesn't give you any clues like you have with Triad and Disposition, where you have some lyrics, so there are some clues which you can, understand, misunderstand, interpret, misinterpret, but Triad has nothing, so we still don't know what's going to happen when we will get rid of this bad part in us as a whole, as a humankind, rather than individual.
I'm looking at this like that. So you say we have no clue for the triad to understand the triad.
All we have, is like the rhythm. Yeah, so that is very general.
Okay, but what if we don't have to understand it as in understand it? Because if you let go of ego, why do you need to understand something? You should be able to. So there might be two different reasons you might something to understand something. You might want to get validation from other people. You want to understand something so you are like in line with others, or you might want to understand something just for yourself, just for your curiosity to be satisfied. And if you let go of the ego, you don't need any words, because you don't need more clues. It's like just how you feel it. I just thought it's nice.
It may be the case, but that's the thing. You don't know. Are we having a capability to get rid of ego completely?
Okay, I don't know, but I don't need to know, because...
How do you know you don't need to know? That's also sometimes... what if you feel you don't need to know, but you have to know because you are determined to know? Even if you don't know and you're rejecting this idea, there still will be things in your life that will allow you to know more and more, even though you don't want to. Does it make sense? It's becoming a bit...
I would put that in quotes, what you said, like, how do you know you don't need to know?
Yeah.
That's pretty...
Yeah, I think it's also a good time to finish. I don't know how long we've been talking for.
With the songs, we just passed 1 hour mark.
Ooh, I don't know if anyone is going to stay with us this long. If so, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to next week. So I feel it's a good time to start.
To finish.
Finish. You see, it's been going on for too long.
But it was very nice.
It was awesome.
And the whole album, I think, was great.
Yeah,
and
it was.
You liked it. But we have to listen to the whole album as a...
Yeah. Interestingly, I found out there's one more kind of song, very short one, but I feel we can just listen to it next week, And that's what I would like to do. If you're okay with this.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there was a lot to take on, and I'm really glad we did this. As always, thank you so much for being with us, if you're still there, and see you next week.
Thank you, see ya.